geared towards people who are experiencing some kind of persistent pain. It's a gentle class where you can choose your own adventure and decide for yourself what works in your body. We'll be checking in a lot, deciding on and attuning to whether things feel right for us. If you've never done yoga before, this is a great place to start. There is nothing you already need to know, and anything that doesn't feel right for you or you're not sure will be right for you, you can just sit that out and join along in with things that do work for you. Again, my name's Tony. I'm really glad you're here. I'm going to sit back on my mat behind me. So come to a comfortable place. And you're always welcome to take a chair if, to start with, to get into the breath work. If sitting on the floor is not for you. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm sitting on a bolster. But that's just because it's comfortable in my body and it happens to be in my yoga room. But again, anything that feels comfortable for you. It doesn't have to be a certain way. And this is, I'm going to go over and over that. You'll get bored of me saying it. That there's nothing that needs to look a particular way. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. This is just movement and figuring out what kind of movement feels best for you. So wherever you are, wiggle and waggle a little bit. Ease through the body into some kind of rolling, gentle movement that feels okay in your body. And then from that, we start to settle into a place that feels a little bit more sustainable, like we could stay here. Knowing, of course, you can move at any time. You don't have to wait for me. We settle into what it is we're supported by, whatever that surface or those surfaces are. You can even take your hands to the side of the chair if you're on the chair, or down to the earth. If they reach there, we can put books underneath your fingertips or anything just to connect downwards. And then I invite you to take a breath in and let that go. Got another 2 of those. You can even close your eyes if you like. Starting to soften on those exhales. Another one here. You can keep your hands exactly as they are or bring them back to a more comfortable position. And we start to give ourselves permission to be here, knowing that we all have a whole lot going on outside of the space that we're in. But we're dedicating this time to tuning in to ourselves, to our bodies, to figure out for the next hour what works for us and what doesn't. Bring the breath back to as easy a breath as you can find. And we start off by really checking in honestly and allowing anything to arise that does. Noticing simply how we're feeling today. Noticing how your mind is doing. What's going on in your emotions, your heart and chest space, or any other place that you experience that. We notice how our body's feeling. Just noting the places that you're immediately drawn towards. See if you can stay away from the stories. As example, I feel a lot in my shoulder because I had an injury, etc., etc. That's what I would call the story of it. Instead, bring it back to the sensations you're feeling. And again, a great way to tune in is to close your eyes and really get connected to whatever sensation you're actually feeling. And if nothing arises, no big deal. Then you notice that nothing arises. There's no right and wrong way of doing this. We notice the loud places. And especially if you're living in a place where you experience constant pain, those are the places our awareness goes to first. We don't push that away. We don't want it to be different. But we do offer ourselves the opportunity to also take our awareness to other places in our body that feel less discomfort. It might even be the very tip of your nose. But we find places that are less urgent, allowing us to see that although we may have places that are very loud, there are also places in our body that aren't quite so loud. Noticing any muscle tension that's present anywhere, and offering softness to those places, even a little soft movement to wherever it is that you happen to feel any tension. And we start to notice the breath just as it is. Noticing how your breath feels to you today. Whether it feels really tight and choppy, whether it feels fine, whether it feels long and luxurious. Noticing whether the inhale or the exhale feels more familiar, more comfortable than the other. Again, without the story as to why. We don't need to figure it out. We just pay attention. If it feels comfortable for you, breathing in and out through your nose. If that's not comfortable for you, as with anything here, no need to do it. And we start to just count how long our inhales take, how long our exhales take. Again, there's no magic number. We all count differently. Our breath is all different. And then we start to notice that gentle rhythm, whatever that rhythm is. And again, it'll be different for each of us. And consider adding another count to both the inhale and the exhale. So if your inhale was 2 and your exhale, for example, was 3, or the other way around, then your inhale now will be 3 and your exhale will be 4. Check that out. See how that feels. And if it's uncomfortable or it feels like you're pushing yourself too much, don't do it. So we have this longer breath. And then we start to steady that breath out. We smooth the inhale all the way to the top, and we steady the exhale all the way down to the bottom as best as we can. Knowing that at any time, if this breath is not comfortable for you, you can let it go, come back to an easy breath. Otherwise, we have these slightly longer, steadier breaths in and out. Keeping those steady breaths in and out. If you need to reduce the count of the inhale or the exhale to feel more comfortable here, you can go ahead and do that. But we keep the steadiness of the breath. And if at any point, especially on the exhale, maybe if you want to explore a little bit of an extra longer count on that exhale, you can do that too. But we'll keep the inhale as it is. And I want you to imagine that with this steady inhale and exhale, you can allow your body to relax even more. As if the outer edges soften and the inside of your body also softens. And we've got these longer, smoother breaths now with this quality of softness. And at any point in the practice, if we lose the breath or we find we're holding the breath, this is the breath we come back to. The steady breath in and out. Keeping the same count if it feels comfortable for you, knowing you can adjust it at any point. Again, it'll be different for each of us, and it may very well change. From there, we're going to root down into all those places we are supported. And then from there, imagine that by a thread from the crown of your head, somebody's lifting you up, as if your whole spine could get a little longer and the head feels like it's lifting, even if it's just a millimeter more. And the breath is still steady and smooth. Sensations of the body will come up. Thoughts will come up. We don't want to push them away. We simply acknowledge that they're there and gently guide our attention back to this breath. Rooting down to rise up. And then from there, we're going to take our hands out towards the side. And with that breath, I want you to start to circle through the wrists. One entire circle for one entire breath movement. So the inhale lifts the fingers, the exhale draws them down. One direction. Noticing how this feels. Always, if it doesn't feel right for your body, you'll know because you'll probably be holding your breath or the breath will get choppy. So we come back to stillness and just engage with that longer, smoother, softer breath. And then we're going to take that round in the opposite direction. As big or as small a movement as feels right in your body. This is going to look different for each of us. And if there's particular areas that you're very sensitive in or are very tender, then you can completely skip those. The inhale lifts the fingers, the exhale draws them down. Nice. And then we're going to take that left hand to a supported place. Right hand comes out floating at the side of you. Turn the palm up. On the inhale, we lift the fingers up from the elbow, bending from the elbow, exhaling down. This does not have to be a very big movement. Don't worry about the angle of the arm, whether it's out towards the side or forward. Just stay at a place where the body feels easy. You can stay here. Again, the fingertips are an expression of the breath, so the inhale lifts, the exhale draws down. If you would like to add on, then maybe moving from the shoulder. Keep the shoulders, elbows, wrists, and fingers nice and soft. Imagine that you're moving through water or honey, that you don't want to ripple that water. But there's a strange kind of resistance, a soft resistance there. You can start to play with taking the fingertips higher if that's comfortable for you. You can also come back to bending from the elbow. We're figuring it out what works for your body, keeping the joints soft and easy. Option to take those right fingertips overhead towards the left. Inhaling and exhaling. And this movement is your own, so you get to adapt it and adjust it to what feels right for you. Longer, smoother, softer breaths in and out. And you have one more unless you'd like to rest early. And the fingertips come down. Left fingertips, palm turns up from the elbow, inhaling up. Exhaling, that palm turns down. So there's a pivot there from the shoulder. Inhaling and exhaling. Great place to stay. And if this side feels very different, then change it up to accommodate for that. You're welcome to start to move from the shoulder, inhaling and exhaling. The breath is as easy and as steady as you can make it, both on the inhale and the exhale, moving as if through honey. Inhaling and exhaling, keeping the joints easy. You're welcome to take those fingertips over towards the right. if that feels comfortable for you. You may feel some length along that left side, and decide for yourself by checking in. How am I doing? If your mind starts racing, then it's probably too much. If your body sensations get too loud, it'll be too much. If the breath starts to get choppy, take it down. Stay in a place for the last one that feels comfortable for you. Fingertips come down, and here we stay. Rolling the shoulders up by the ears gently, exhaling them down. Those shoulder rolls. And these don't have to be very big. They can be as small as you like. You can even simply imagine moving. Let the arms just simply come along for the journey, but the awareness is in the shoulders. Notice if you do less, does it feel better? The breath is steady and smooth. The breath is guiding the movement. The end of the next exhale, we'll pause together and take it round in the opposite direction. Inhaling up, exhaling down. If you need to rest, then rest. Otherwise, we've got another couple of breaths here. At the end of your next exhale, we're going to pause and take that back to center. Any movements you need, go ahead and do that. And then from there, we're going to take our nose all the way to the right side. Doesn't have to be very far, but make sure it's easy in your neck. On the inhale, I'm going to draw it forward. Exhale over towards the left. Inhale forward. Exhale to the right. Stay at a place where the movement feels easy in your neck. And if you want to, you can start to lift the chin a little. So the chin comes a little higher. How does that feel? And if that doesn't feel right, adjust the level of the chin. Maybe come back to neutral. Or if it feels comfortable for you, you could explore dropping the chin down, taking it from side to side. How does that feel? Only as much or as little feels good for you. The next time the chin comes over towards the right, I'm going to take a big sweep. So we stay here, inhale the chin up, exhale to the left. Inhale up, exhale to the right. And this doesn't have to be a big movement. You can rest if it doesn't feel right for you. The next time we come to the left, we pause. This is now the inhale. On the exhale, we'll draw the chin down over towards the right and up. Draw the chin down on the exhale and up to the left. And again, if this does not feel right in your body, come back to a movement that does feel easy. And another 2 either side. With the breath, longer, smoother, and softer. On the next exhale, when the chin comes down, we'll draw it all the way back up. Then any movements you need, go ahead. And from here, we're going to come down onto our seat. We're going to take our feet out wide, or a comfortable distance, and that's going to be different for each of us. And I'm going to turn towards the side so you can see me. Feet rooted down, hands on the front of the shins, and then you just rock forward and back a little. And if you wiggle from side to side, you might feel the 2 bony bits underneath you. That's the base of your pelvis. We want to get up on high up on those sit bones. And then on an inhale, drawing the hands into your knees, we're going to pull the heart forward any amount. And on the exhale, we're going to draw the belly in towards the chest and round into the back. Start small. On the inhale, we're going to rock forward right up on top of those sit bones. And on the exhale, depending on how much you rock back, coming onto the back of the pelvis somewhat. So inhaling and exhaling. Once you have this, you can add on. On an inhale, we can lift up through the chin, draw the shoulder blades back towards each other, and we get a deeper extension in the spine. On the exhale, you can really sit into the hammock of the back, chin comes in towards the chest. Amount of movement is up to you. What feels best for you, inhaling and exhaling. And there's probably one that feels a little more comfortable than the other. Seated cat and cow. If you prefer to do this on your hands and knees, you can go ahead. Inhaling and exhaling. And then the next time we come up, we're going to stay. Come to a place where you feel like you can sit for a little bit. Legs can be out, doesn't have to look a particular way. I'm going to come into a gentle twist. So from here, bring your hands around about chest level. And then we're going to take those hands over towards the right. Our hips are still facing forward. Almost draw the left hip back as you're pushing over towards the right somewhat. Inhaling and to the right. Soft, easy movement in the shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingers, and thumbs. And once you're doing this, as you push to the right, you can draw the shoulders over towards the left, especially the left shoulder. So rather than upright, we're then leaning into the left, checking out how that feels. Easy breath. And then the next time we come to center, we're going to go to the other side and come and sit back in center here. Over towards the left. And again, our hips are facing forward, so we're getting that gentle twist in the spine instead of in the pelvis. And then leaning off towards the right with the right shoulder, if that's comfortable for you. And then we're going to go from side to side. It's a little bit like hula dancing, or what I imagine to be hula dancing. Noticing how that feels. And if the hands are easier, taking them down, or you prefer to exert yourself more by taking them higher, you can do that too. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. Any movements you need, go ahead. Do a little check-in here, just noticing how you're feeling, how your heart, your mind are feeling, how your body's feeling, how your breath is doing. And coming back to that steady breath in, steady breath out. Nice. And then we're going to come over onto hands and knees. And if you like to have support under your knees, you can take it for a lot of softness. Hands and knees. Cat and cow. Exhale, we push the back ribs away. Inhale, we lift up through the heart and the seat. Inhaling and exhaling. And then from here, I'm going to just step forward. I know you won't be able to see all of me. I'm going to step back with that right leg. And I'm just out of shot, toes to the floor. And we're just going to push through the heel, lengthening through the back of the right leg. That right leg can be, you can see from my baggy pants, it can be straight. You can have a bend in that knee, whatever feels better for you. Inhaling and exhaling. Belly is drawn in here, and the back of the heart is slightly lifted. If wrists are an issue, come down onto forearms. And then when you're ready, that right knee draws in, Left knee extends, or left leg extends. Toes to the earth, and we're going to rock forward and back. Opening, inhaling and exhaling. Nice. And then from there, drawing the knees back in. I like to take my knees a little wider here, coming into child's pose, bringing the big toes together. Seat comes back. If that feels a bit too far down for your seat, you can take a cushion, or I have a bolster here in between the heels and the seat. Supported child's pose. Coming down onto forearms, or I'm going to shove that out the way. Coming all the way down, stacked fists, stacked palms. Anything to feel okay in your body. And we start to breathe. Steady and slow in, steady and slow out. Check out the rhythm of your breath here. The length of your inhales and length of your exhales. See if you can just notice, especially exhale. Steady and smooth it out all the way to the bottom of the breath. And wherever you are, when you're ready, we'll come onto hands and knees again. Toes tucked, hands come back towards the knees. And from there, we're going to stand. I'm going to take that out the way and come all the way up. And from here, any movements you need in your body, go ahead. Mountain pose. So feet at comfortable distance. You can pick up those toes and spread them nice and wide and take them down. And then if you wiggle from side to side, you really get rooted down on the feet. Mountain pose, like a mountain. We're wide on the base. And then from that connection downwards, there's a rooting to rise up through the crown of the head. Palms face me. This is traditional mountain pose. If it feels comfortable for you, take your shoulders back over your hips slightly back over the heels, and the back of the head comes to, as if you've got an imaginary wall behind you. And if you do have a wall, you can check that out and notice how that feels. From there, palms turn up from the elbows. Inhaling, we lift the fingers. Exhaling, taking them down. Just like before, but both at the same time. Option to stay here, option to move from the shoulders. Keep the movement easy. You'll know if it's easy because the mind doesn't start to get really busy with, I don't know if this is too scary, am I going to regret this tomorrow? If you feel safe and the body feels safe and the breath feels steady and smooth, then you're good. If you start getting those thoughts that I think I'm doing too much, then come to rest, come back to the breath. Got another 2 here, unless you're already resting. Always paying attention to how you're feeling. Okay, from here, just allowing any movements in your body. And then from there, we're going to come into a balance pose. So everybody's favorite, I know. So we're going to take our hands down to wherever they're comfortable. I'm going to turn around so you can see me. So feet are in the same mountain pose here. Everything is rooting down to draw in and up. The breath is steady. And on an inhale, we're just going to rock our weight forward into the toes. So you're going to feel this gripping with the toes. And on the exhale, we're going to rock back into the heels, and the toes may get lighter. Inhaling and exhaling. If you know that you're feeling a little unstable, fix your gaze on something and keep it there. Something that is not necessarily moving, or you can focus on me in the video. And fixing our gaze helps us with balance. Option to stay here. Option as we come forward to start to lift the heels. Exhale, we rock back into the heels. Just getting used to our weight distribution. And if you're feeling like you're coming up and you're jolting down, see if you can make the transition as smooth and as steady as you made the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And as you start to get a little more confident, you can start to lift a little higher through the heels, strengthening through the feet, through the ankles, and getting that full engagement into the center line of the body. It really feels almost like you're just being picked up by the crown of your head. So this whole movement is coming through the center line of your body. Added option is to add the arms as we come up. So as you lift the heels, the arms come up any amount, exhaling them down. The arms are just an add-on. If you keep your hands on your hips, that's going to mean that you feel a little more stable. So check out what feels right for you. Those arms can come all the way up. This is your movement. Inhaling and exhaling, steady and smooth up, and steady and smooth down. Option, the next time you come up, you could stay for 3 breaths, reaching from the balls of the feet down, up through the crown of the head and the fingertips if they're lifted. Steady, smooth breath in and out. Last breath here. And on that exhale, we're going to take the heels down and the feet come down. Rolling through the shoulders in one direction, rolling through the shoulders in the other direction. Nicely done. And then from here, we're going to come into chair pose, or modified chair pose. So you're going to keep exactly where you are. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me. So feet are wide. We're moving from the hip creasing here. So from the hip creases, on the exhale, we're just going to bend through the knees and take the seat back. Inhaling up, straightening through the legs, exhaling, bending. And if you take a look at your knees, they're coming forward. If you're finding that your knees are coming out towards the side, then see if you can readjust your feet and keep your feet and knees going in the same direction. Even if it's turned out a little bit, as long as the feet are in the same direction. Or keeping the feet parallel, keeping the knees bent parallel. Head, heart, and hips are in one line, which means as we come down, we're not rounding through the spine or overextending. We're keeping everything, head, heart, and hips, in one line. Inhaling and exhaling. It doesn't matter how far you come down. And the next time you come down, take a look at your toes. If you cannot see all of your toes, sit your seat back a little more. Steady in, steady out. Take a break when you need it. And the add-on is on the exhale, we take the arms out, shoulder height. Inhale, down they come. And then from there, the head comes in line with the trajectory of the spine. Option to stay here pulsing. I should tighten this a little, so there we go. Or option, when we come down next time, we stay. Making sure we can see all our toes. And we breathe. Inhaling and exhaling. Last 2 breaths, you're welcome to take your arms up. They can be as wide or as close together as you like. Widen the hands, soften the shoulders. Last breath. And if you're not already up, on an inhale, push through the feet. Up we come. Hand to heart, hand to belly. Big breath in. Exhale it out. And the chances are your heart's got a little elevated. So we steady and smooth the breath. Come back to the same counts or a new count that serves you, especially following the exhale all the way down to the bottom of the breath. Nice. And then from here, we're going to put those two together. So, staying where you are, we're going to come back to, this is the inhale. On the exhale, take the seat back, the arms out. And again, let me tie this in a bit. Inhaling and exhaling. And then the next time you come down, we could stay here or pop one heel off on an inhale, exhale, take it down. Opposite heel lifts, take it down on an exhale. And go from side to side. Notice if you can seal your toes. And then the next time, one heel comes down, option to stay, option to come off both heels. And again, you can widen the hands, bring them together, and we breathe. Thumbs to the sky. We're only here for another 2 breaths. Steady the breath. The same breath in, same breath out. Got one last exhale. Taking the heels down, pushing through the feet, and up we come. And from there, gently swaying yourself from side to side. If the breath is elevated, hand to heart, hand to belly, regulate the breath. Nicely done. And then from there, we're going to take the feet a little wider. Let me just grab some water. Take the feet a little wider. It doesn't have to be very wide, but if you wiggle from side to side, you feel stable. And you can adjust that at any time. Hands to the hips. We root down to rise up, toes turned out. So again, imagine that you've got that thread coming out through the crown of your head. This is the inhale. On the exhale, we're going to bend through both knees. Knees are in the same line as the feet. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Don't worry about how far you're coming down. And as you bend into this, you could feel like you need to adjust your stance one way or another. The inhale is lifting up. The exhale, we come down. See if you can consider the transition between standing and bent knees, the focus. So rather than locking out the knees and then coming down really quickly, slow transition. Inhaling and exhaling. Nicely done. Don't worry about how far you're coming down. You could challenge yourself by coming further. You'll know because the mind is not spinning. I don't feel safe here. I'm going to regret this. If that's what's happening, do less or just come back to stillness and practice breath work. Otherwise, inhaling and exhaling. If you want to add on an inhale, the arms come up. Exhale, cactus the arms. Inhaling up, reaching, exhaling cactus. Steadying the breath. Steadying the movement, smooth and steady, like you're still moving through molasses. You can pulse up and down, or next time we come down, we'll stay. And from here, we're just going to go from side to side. This is the inhale. On the exhale, we're going to take the left palm forward, right palm back. Inhale, center. Exhale to the left. Inhale, center. Up we come. Exhale, down, side to side. Inhale, center. Exhale to the left. Inhale, center. Up we come. One more to go. Steady the breath. Notice what's happening in sensations, your mind, your breath. Up we come. Hands come down to the hips. And I'm going to heel toe those legs in. Bend through the knees, hula hoop through the hips in one direction, hula hoop through the other direction. Hand to belly, hand to heart, big breath in. Exhale it out. Another 2 of those. Steady the breath, regulate especially that exhale. Nicely done. And then from there, in your own time, you're going to come down to the earth. If you like, you can put a blanket or 2 down underneath you. And we're going to come all the way onto our back. So, knees to the sky, feet to the floor. You can take a pillow behind your head. Just make this as comfortable as you like. And then from there, feet are about a hip distance, knees are about a hip distance. And I'm going to ask you to pick up your hips somewhat, tuck your tail, and take your lower back down onto the floor somewhat. And I know this is a bit awkward because you can't see me, so I'm going to try and cue well. So everything is still in one line. You've kind of already been here in modified chair pose, but just standing up. And then from there, I want you to take your hands onto the front of your hip bones, which are those points that if you really dig in, then you can feel some hard bits in there right at the front, either side of your belly, and those are your hip bones. We're going to lay our palms on those. So, on the inhale, imagine I just picked up your belly button towards the sky, and we're going to get an arch in the back, an extension in the spine. So we, our belly's popping out, the front ribs popping out. On the exhale, imagine I just push down through your belly button, and your belly button smushing towards your spine, and we're getting this really imprinting of the lower back on the mat. So the inhale, we lift up through the belly. Exhale, taking that belly down. And with the hands on the hips, you may start to notice there's a rocking of the pelvis. Doesn't have to be very big. So almost like the pubic bone is getting further away from the belly button on that inhale as we draw the belly button up. And on the exhale, the pubic bone gets a little closer towards the belly button. Pelvic tilts. You can even start to use your feet. So on the inhale, as the belly pops up, you may consider imagining you could draw the heels back towards your seat. And on the exhale, you could imagine you could push your toes away from you. And that'll exaggerate the movement in the back of the spine. Now, this doesn't have to be a big movement at all. Inhaling and exhaling. And then from there, if you would like to, we can take the arms out in a cactus. You can take robot arms, elbows in towards the waist, fingertips towards the floor, the ceiling, or palms down nice and wide by your hips. On the inhale, we lift the belly. On the exhale, we're going to take that belly button down so much, push into the heels, that we might lift up a little through the pelvis. And then on the inhale, we roll all the way down, and that belly pops out right at the end of the breath. Exhale, draw the belly in, maybe lifting. So the goal here is not to get the pelvis as high as possible, which I know a lot of focus is on in bridge. This is about controlling the movement of the spine. So we're not concerned about the height, but we want to roll through every vertebrae. And if the pelvis never gets off the earth and you're just coming into those pelvic tilts, that's fantastic. Blending the movement with the breath, inhaling and exhaling. If your hands are down by your hips, you can use that as leverage to come up. But keep rolling through the spine. So there's very little stillness in this movement. And if you need to rest at any point, then rest. If you would like to, or when we come all the way up, You could even get all the way onto the back of your shoulders, top of your shoulders. But I want you to roll down on that inhale just as slowly as you peel the spine up and down. Inhaling and exhaling. Got another 3. Take it easy. Slow through the breath. The breath is guiding every single movement. And then the next time that pelvis comes down and the belly lifts, we're going to come back into a more neutral spine. And then from there, we're going to take those knees in towards each other and ankles. You can take your palms out. You can take your arms in a T or a cactus. I have a wall here. I can't spread my arms out. Whatever feels comfortable for you. You're going to root through those feet. This is the inhale. Start on the right side. On the exhale, you're going to take that right knee out towards the side, coming onto the blade of the right foot. Inhaling back to center, staying only on the right side. Inhaling and exhaling. As the right knee is coming towards the right side, wider, notice what's happening in the left side of your pelvis. So if the left side of your pelvis is swinging over towards the right, and I'm exaggerating there, keep a controlled movement. So the left side of the pelvis is just as rooted as the right. Keep it an easy movement. And the next time that knee comes up, we're going to the left side. This is inhale. Exhale, that left knee comes out. The right leg is not moving. And again, notice what's happening in your pelvis. So if the right hip is coming out towards and lifting off here, then we keep that rooted down and we move the left leg a little less. Inhaling and exhaling. Ease of movement. Steady with the breath. And then the next time those knees come in together, they'll stay. You're going to gather that right knee in towards your chest. Give it a little hug. And then you can circle through that ankle in one direction. And then circle in the opposite direction. Yeah, nicely done. And then we're going to keep that right hand on the right knee. Left knee can be bent, foot to the floor, or if it feels comfortable for you, you can extend that left leg out. Right knee draws up, and we're going to circle with the right hip. So the right knee is drawing circles in the air, but the movement is coming from the rotation in the hip. Now notice here what's happening as you draw the right knee out towards the side. If that left hip is lifting, then draw it back down, even though it means that the movements are a little smaller. So we're keeping the pelvis nice and neutral and the spine neutral so we get the movement in the hip. We're going to take that round in the opposite direction. Steady and smooth. The inhale lifts the knee up towards the belly. The exhale draws it around and down. And if you don't need to use your hand on your knee, you can release that. But make sure that the pelvis is really neutral. And the next time that right knee draws in, you're going to give it a little hug. You're going to bend that left knee if it's not there already. Shift the hips over towards the right. Extend the left leg. Left hand to the outer right knee. We're going to draw that across the body. So this time we're really rolling onto the outer left hip. Right shoulder is rooted and grounded, and that's going to adjust how much that knee comes across. And you can play with pulsing that knee up and down. You can play with rocking and rolling onto the outer edge of that left hip, your choice. And then wherever you are in movement or in stillness, we're going to take 3 full breaths. Notice what's happening in your body. Do you feel okay here? Do you feel safe? If not, come out. Last breath. And if you haven't been out already, we're going to draw that right knee up. Set the foot down, draw the left knee in and set your pelvis back to neutral. Left knee draws in. You can stay here or extend that right leg out. And then we circle through that ankle. Easy breath, easy movement. Back in the opposite direction. And then from here, left hand, left knee. That right arm can support you. And we start to circle. Noticing that if we're taking our whole pelvis with us, that we might want to keep an eye on making the pelvis neutral so the movement is isolating right into the hip instead of moving the pelvis. And that takes a little bit to work out, and you have to work with your body and figure out what works for you. There's no right and wrong. Deciding how much movement and where feels good. The breath is easy and you feel safe and comfortable. Rest if you need to, or we'll take that round in the opposite direction. Does not have to be a big movement. You don't have to have that hand on the knee if that doesn't work for you. But the inhale draws the knee up, the exhale takes it down. For as much or as little as you like. And then we're going to draw that left knee back in towards your belly. Bend the right knee if it's not there already. Foot to the floor. We're going to shift our hips towards the right. Extend the right leg out. Actually, sorry. The hips come over towards the left bent knee. And then from there, right hand to the outside of the left knee, and we draw ourselves over. Left shoulder's grounded. And that'll decide how much or how little we come over. Now you can pulse in and out. You can pulse with your knee up and down. It's just a case of exploring and finding out what works in your body, movement or stillness. And then we breathe. Wherever we are in stillness and movement, 3 full breaths. Notice how your mind is, your emotions. Notice how you feel, how your body feels, sensations. If they're getting too loud, come out. Stay for the last exhale. And when you're ready, we draw the knee back up to center. Set those feet down and readjust ourselves. And then from here, you can bring one or both knees in towards each other. You can bring the knees together. You can bring them apart. And any movement that arises here to finish off your practice, go ahead. It doesn't have to be a particular way. You can rock a little bit from side to side. You can take happy baby, knees wide towards the armpits. Feet can be dangled next to the hips. Great place to start. You can play with taking those legs up with the feet as if they're standing on the floor. This is kind of like an upside down deep squat. Hands on the back of the thighs, shins, or at the side of those feet. And again, you do not have to be in stillness here. And if there's another movement that feels good for you, go ahead. Get a couple of breaths here, just exploring how your body feels. And wherever you are, we're going to come back to neutral. Now, coming into relaxation, lying down on the floor is not comfortable for everybody. So if it's not comfortable for you, you don't need to be here. However, if it is comfortable, you can stay here. If you have any lower back stuff going on, keeping the knees in the air, but keeping the feet further apart, knees in towards each other, can find some release in the lower back. You can also play with taking your knees out wide. Propping underneath the hips can help with lessening the torque in that inner groin. Can take Sideline relaxation. If you've got a couch close by, you can take that. If you've got a blanket, you can put a blanket over you. If you'd prefer to sit in a chair or get up and lie on your sofa, I'm going to grab my bolster. You can do that too. If you have an eye pillow, take an eye pillow. I'm just sitting up so I can guide you through some relaxation. Otherwise, wherever you are, you're going to come to a place that feels comfortable as you can find. And a good rule of thumb is to also prop underneath your body as much as you can, so your body's kind of got a lot of support underneath it, whichever shape you happen to be in. And then we micro move, so we snuggle into that place, a little bit like kitty cats and dogs going round and round in a circle and plonking themselves down. That's what we do. I get all our wriggles out and then kind of settle down into a place that could feel like we could stay here for a moment or two. Make any adjustments, because anything that's loud now is only going to get louder as we stay. And then from there, I'm going to take a full deep breath in together. Exhale it out. And with that exhale, if you haven't already, you can close your eyes or just soften or lower your gaze. We're going to take another full breath in. Exhale it out. Okay, option to take another few of those, or we take a full breath in. Hold the breath at the top. If there's a whole lot of tension that comes with that, soften. Take another sip of breath as you hold. Hold again, soften where you can. Last sip of breath. Exhale it out, the whole thing. And with that exhale, we let go of the manipulation of the breath. We come back to whatever is the easiest breath we can find in our body. And we allow our body to have some softness here, so it has an opportunity to relax. And to relax into this moment. And just like we had in the beginning of the whole class, we give ourselves permission to relax. Softening from the inside out. Imagining all your organs relaxing and releasing. All your bones getting heavy, the joints getting soft, the muscles relaxing. And then finally the skin releasing as well. Our mind starts to feel easy. It's not that the thoughts stop. It's that the distractions, the thoughts, the sensations in our bodies, the senses start just washing in and out of our awareness. Don't push anything else out of the way that arises. Just acknowledge that it's there, and then let it scoot on by, softly gliding through your awareness and out. Notice tension anywhere in your body. And if you would like to, if there's a whole lot of tension there, in your imagination on an inhale, you're going to draw that breath to the very point in your body where you feel loud sensation. And on an exhale, I want you to imagine that at that very point of tension, the breath permeates and softens around that area. And however long that tension is there, imagine drawing your breath in all the way to wherever that is in the body. And on the exhale, that exhale softens and dissolves the tension around the edges, little bit by little bit. Doesn't matter how many breaths it takes, taking the breath to one particular area. And then the exhale lets the tension soften and dissolve, bit by bit by bit. You could even imagine drawing in your breath into the very center of your body, either your heart, your belly, anywhere that feels central to you. And then on that exhale, imagine the breath softening and relaxing your whole body, swirling through every part of it. Inside, out, back of the body, front of the body, toes to fingertips to nose. Releasing, relaxing, letting go. And then from there, if you want to lie here longer, resting, then do. Otherwise, you're going to start to just bring your awareness back to the surface that's supporting you. And we're going to expand our awareness out through our whole body as best as we can. And start to notice the rise and fall of the breath, maybe in the upper chest. If you're sitting up, your shoulders. Maybe even down into the lower ribs, even the belly for some of you. And tracking the breath, a steady inhale and exhale. And then we start to allow that breath to get a little deeper, a little longer. Just like we did in the beginning of class, the breath easing into a slightly deeper, steadier breath. More conscious breath. And then from there, with that more mindful breath, we start to take little movements. And this will be different for each of us. Starting in a natural place in your body that feels like it wants to move. And then from there, allowing that movement to get bigger and more expansive. Take your time. Maybe you stretch out wide. Maybe you curl in a little more. If you're on your back, maybe drawing one knee in, another knee in. Any movement, any rocking and rolling from side to side. And then when you feel ready, if you are on your back, we'll roll to one side or another, whichever feels more comfortable for you. And we'll take a few breaths and come to seated if you're not already there. Once we're seated, just like in the beginning of class, we make any micro movements to just settle into that seat a little deeper. And take your hand to the support underneath you if that feels good. And trust the support and sink into it. We root down to rise up through the whole body as if that thread is there lifting you up from the crown of your head. You can take your hands into any gesture that feels comfortable for you today. It doesn't have to be a particular way. I invite you to soften your gaze or close your eyes. And just notice, without the stories, how you're feeling. Notice how your mind feels, your emotions. Drop your awareness into your body, noticing the louder places without the stories as best as you can. Notice the quieter places too. Notice your breath. And take a full breath in. Exhale it out, chin comes down towards the chest. Thank yourself for your practice, for taking this time to move gently, to notice the movement, to breathe with mindfulness. From my heart to yours, I thank each and every one of you. I hope that you're feeling just a little bit better now than when you started. I'm going to scoot forward just a little more. So again, my name is Tony. I'm glad that we practiced together. You can take this into your day, this check-in, this how am I feeling? How's everything doing? How am I doing something that doesn't feel comfortable for me? You can do that when you're chopping vegetables, when you're folding laundry, when you happen to be taking a walk in your neighborhood, whatever you're doing. Always that check-in process. Am I doing too much? Do I feel safe? Is my mind racing? Is my body giving me loud sensations that I know I'm going to regret tomorrow? And how's my breath? Always the breath. So again, thank you for practicing with me. My name's Tony, and it's been a pleasure. Namaste.